Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness and also this new season. So today is the first one of this summer season. It will run for 4 weeks, so half of July and half of August. And yeah, very, very excited about it. And also very excited that we are starting this season with Kimberly Maska. And I know her message and her teaching can be very, very helpful. And also when I invited her first, I was excited about that because I know many of you, you already know your gifts, or you know you have gifts that you want to share, you want to contribute. And many times, like also through the questions that we receive in the previous calls, sometimes we receive questions about how can we share our gifts in a bigger way? And also, how can we support ourselves doing that? Because many times, especially in the beginning, especially when we have maybe limiting beliefs of our past traumas, or maybe there are issues that sometimes we are not aware of, that sometimes create limitations for us to maybe accept, to receive, or have an exchange of our gifts or what we are offering. And also we sometimes we like guidance and clarity about how can we approach this. And yeah, so what I love about Kimberly's message is that she's really able to help you to get more clarity about that, and also how to navigate that shift or change in the way you express yourself in how to say, in a more empowering way and in more easier way. So yeah, very excited, very happy that she's here with us. And today's call will be about living in the prosperity vortex. And for those of you who are new to Kimberly, she is a spiritual entrepreneur, international best-selling author, and CEO of Maska Media. And also, after the discussion, we'll have a Q&A where you can ask Kimberly your questions. So if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat box on Zoom and also on YouTube. And also Kimberly has a very amazing gifts that she will be offering to us, and we will be talking also about that. So yeah, so Kimberly, welcome to the show. Happy to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. I love nothing more than helping and inspiring and empowering entrepreneurs to be able to use their gifts and get out there. So let's I love talking about it.
Wonderful. So yeah, so let's start. My first question is about maybe your work and your message. If you can tell us maybe a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll just share a little of my background, crazy like 3D matrix background, where I worked on Wall Street and helped create a $165 million investment banking firm and all this crazy stuff that I did in my world, which was lovely. But as we know, the 3D stuff never really feels great. But through all of that, I actually realized that one of my intuitive gifts is actually to see someone's business. So when I'm working with someone, I can actually see how their business is supposed to lay out. And that's actually what got me to Wall Street. And I didn't even know that until years later when I started this business, where I started working with spiritual entrepreneurs to be able to get them to get their business out there. And I was like, oh, look at that. Like, it's actually a gift. So I love being able to use my gift for good, essentially, right? Being able to help people to create their business to shift message or to shift consciousness on it. So my whole message is being able to empower you to do that, because it's absolutely possible. The awards on the wall behind me, that's what I give my clients when they have their first 6-figure year. And so it's right there for everybody. So I like to show you that you can do it. It does not have to be as hard as everyone makes it out to be. And it's a lot of fun. So I have really great time with that. And let's see, are we still here? I lost Monsef for a second, but I'll keep talking, even though I don't know that we're recording, but I will keep talking because it looks like you guys were all here. There he is. There we go. Perfect. So that's my intro, a little bit about who I am and what I aspire to do is to be able to help everybody take their spiritual gifts and really get out there in a big way, because people need you guys more than ever right now with the Great Awakening happening and all the craziness happening all over the world. People are searching for, they're actually looking for you guys to step out with your gifts and literally praying for you to step out with your gifts. So I'm here to show you how to do that in a fun way that integrates the 3D with the 5D.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you, Kimberly. And so my first question is about maybe the beginnings. Many times we feel that we are not ready. And sometimes it's not true. It's more about those beliefs that we have. So how do you maybe guide your clients or people who work with you in these first steps?
Yeah. Well, I always say when someone says, I'm not ready, I'm like, you're right, you're not ready. And that's why you need a mentor to get ready. Because people think, I guess there's two pieces to this. You have your certifications that you have. Everyone has got the shiny object syndrome with certifications. They're Reiki certified and Theta certified and hypnotherapists. Like they have all these certifications and that's great. But then they're like, well, I'm not ready for the business. And in a way you're not, which is why you need the mentor, because creating a business is very unique. Most people are not entrepreneurs. So thinking like an entrepreneur is very different than having your regular 3D matrix job. So you need someone to guide you through that. And then knowing that we're never really ready for anything. We all think like, I've got to be ready. I've got to be healed. I've got to be. And it just never happens. So to me, that's just an excuse to keep us from failing. But I've got news for you. We're all going to fail. And we will all fail at some point in time. So we have to embrace the failure and learn from it and just step out, just do it. Find someone to guide you through it. And then realize that your ideal client is actually like 10 steps behind you. So even though you may think, oh, I'm not fully healed, and you're not, but you're not helping the person that's in front of you on the path. You're helping the person that's behind you on the path. So your ideal client is a past version of you. So you want to be able to look back at that person and be like, I can help you. And I know you can help them because you've been in the same place that they are. And so you're ready for that. So you're ready for that. So you just have to know how to build that, take that concept and build your business around it. So you can start your business that way and then have the proper guidance to start the business. That's the key piece with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And also another question during that time is, because you mentioned there is 3D part of running the business, and especially in the spiritual community, because we are used to maybe more flow with life and take it maybe step by step instead of creating a structure in how we live our life and take decisions. So what is your advice to maybe keep those gifts, those intuitive gifts, at the same time, maybe try to create a structure that can support us in sharing our gifts?
So I don't think they're separate. And I think that's kind of like a misnomer. People think like, oh, business is left brain, it's structured, it's very like, but you're birthing your business. You're creating your business. Without your divine spark, there is no business to create. So we have to kind of reframe how we look at business. It very much is the flow. It's the inspiration. It's the ideas that you're getting. And then, yes, there does need to be a little structure, which is true with everything in this 3D matrix, right? If we don't have structure around our finances, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. If we don't have structure around our health, everything goes bad. So structure is necessary in order for us to reach our full potential. So we can't just throw structure off to the side. And I think that is actually what happens a lot is in the spiritual community. We're like, I'm just going to be in flow. But they're missing the idea, like the whole point of creating the spiritual business, and actually really just being spiritual in general, is to be able to take action on what we see. It's really the law of inspired action. There is a law around that to be able to take inspired action. We can't just sit and meditate all day and hope it all just flies in. It's like, no, we have to put energy out there to get energy back. So we have to take action to see what occurs. So if we can live our lives like that, in that mode, and just knowing, oh, I take action and we see what happens. Oh, I take this inspired action, we see what happens, and we play with it. Your business is very much about play. We're playing with creating. Now, in the beginning stages, when I work with new people, because I have a whole program just for like people that are just beginners, It's a little more structured because I know what works and we have to get you through the certain steps to build a foundation of your business. But once you have a foundation and you're creating income, my next level clients that are, say, maybe making anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, we then get to play a whole heck of a lot. We get to say, what do you want to create? What feels good? And let's play. And then that becomes even more fun. But you need a little bit of structure so that you can support yourself. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, is that they don't have any structure at all. So then their business never supports them. So there does have to be a little structure, but that's true of anything in the 3D world. So I think it kind of works out okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned like taking that as a play. And sometimes when we try to shift our path or maybe share our gifts, and it doesn't mean necessarily it's our spiritual gifts, like spiritual business, can be anything else. Sometimes we have a hard time to decide whether to jump and go fully in that path, or maybe manage both the current one and then at the same time, little by little, shift to the other one. And from my experience, I mean, I tried jumping, so it was difficult to make it as a play, but it served me in other ways. So for you, what is your advice for those who have difficulties in that step?
Yeah. And it's unique for everybody. Because like you said, you took a full leap and it worked out, but you had your own challenges, your contrast that came up. And we will all have our own contrast. But I do tell people, if you have a 9 to 5, don't quit it just yet. If you can, start to do like both, so that you're creating here, knowing you've got 1 foot here and 1 foot there, so you're getting ready to leave. Because what I've discovered, when I have a client who's just like, I quit my job, I want to start my business, and I've got 6 months to make X amount of income, they put so much pressure on themselves that they fall into scarcity. And it's very difficult to create abundance when you're in scarcity. So they've actually made it harder on themselves than if they had started to have a real plan. That's the other thing. Most people, again, are not entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs think differently. We run things differently. It's a whole different animal. So when you're trying to become an entrepreneur, you got to have a real plan, and you've got to know how it can shift. Where most people just think like, I left my job. They were used to getting a paycheck. I get a paycheck. They're like, great, I'm going to start a business, and then 2 months I should be getting a paycheck. That's never how the entrepreneur world works. So you need to understand what that world is like. Maybe it's not for you. It's not going to be for everybody. I would love if it was. And you probably need to work into embracing it more, because that's really the only security we have, is that we get to create our own income, so that we're not relying on somebody else. But it's not for the faint of heart. I will say that it really isn't. But if you're, have your steady job and you're one of those people that likes a paycheck, my best friend is like that. She has to have a paycheck. She could never be an entrepreneur. But if you like that, you need to start to build the business so that you can leave and create a process. I'll do that with my clients too. In fact, I just got an email a couple of weeks ago, I think it was 4th of July week, that one of my clients had finally quit her 9 to 5. She retired early. So she was making enough money with her spiritual business that she knew her spiritual business would continue to grow, and she was ready to leave the old one, and she retired early and is loving what she's doing. So it's unique to everybody on how you're going to do it. But I do recommend taking some steps. I'd say start building now, because it's going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. I love how all social media makes you think that overnight everyone's a success. I've been doing this for, 9 years now. And I've been able to build a multiple 7-figure business, but it's taken time. It does not happen overnight like all the social media nonsense. So you're going to have to take some time. And what's going to happen is your business is a direct reflection of your consciousness. So that means any beliefs that you have around self-worth or money or things like you're going to have to work hard to make this work, all of those beliefs are going to show up for you, because your higher self is picking creating a spiritual business to be able to expand your consciousness. So you're going to come into contact with this contrast that's going to force you to expand your consciousness. And it may take some time. So it definitely does not happen overnight. Plan for it. But I say start now. If you start now, even if you're going to think like, oh, I'll do this later. The client who just retired was like, I'm going to retire. And I think she was retiring in 2 or 3 years. She had a 2-year plan. Well, she did it in 9 months. So why would you wait if you can do it earlier. So I say start now, and then you figure it out and see where you need to grow to make it really work.
Yeah, absolutely. And along the way, also for me in the beginning, like it was more about self-discovery and also healing process, like starting my own business. And because many of my limiting beliefs, they came to the surface for me to face them and go through that. And also my question is many times that we don't believe in ourselves, or we don't believe that we are able to create something. It's just because some limiting belief. And also I see that in maybe some other friends or other people I know. Sometimes I try to explain to them it's an easy solution, but they are not able to listen. It's not that they don't want, but it's that belief that they don't believe they can create that. This is what blocks them from listening or receiving the solution. So how do you see that aspect?
Oh, that's a hard one, because if you don't believe it, you can't create it. So even though we can see it for them, and I know for me as a spiritual coach and business coach, but really, I mean, I laugh because people are like, oh, you're a business coach, which I am. But the spiritual part is really, I'm a spiritual coach, because without handling people's beliefs, the 3D part of the business won't work. So we have to handle the beliefs first. So as a spiritual coach, being able to hold someone in their highest light, that's my job. That's right. All of you guys who want to be spiritual coaches, your job is to hold your clients in their absolute highest light, even when they don't believe in themselves. And it can be uncomfortable, because you're like, no, I know you can do this. Like, no, I can't. No, I can't. Or, oh, this is scary. Or no, I can't. But I'm like, no, you can. And you've got to hold them here. So that's the only thing we can do, is hold them in their highest light. But if they really never shift the belief, there's nothing we can do. And that to me is the most heartbreaking, like heart-wrenching thing, is when someone just refuses to shift their belief. They argue for their limitations. They want to tell the same story over and over. They're essentially addicted to that feeling of that I can't and I won't succeed. And they're feeding that addiction. So they have to just like anyone else is addicted to anything else, they have to want to not be addicted anymore to see the results. And it's heartbreaking, but we can take the, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I love that you mentioned like being addicted, because many times, like for me also, when for example, I feel low or I don't feel well, first I ask myself if this is just an addiction, like for something that I used to, like state of being I used to in the past, or is it something real that's need my attention? And yeah, when we know it's addiction, it really can, and also we take responsibility of that, it becomes more easy to approach that. And yeah, so I have one more question before taking question from the audience. Is it's for everyone, whether they want to create their business or they want to share their gifts as a job. It's because especially during these times, there are some uncertainties, and we don't know how things will unfold in a collective level, because so many things happening on economic level and also in many things. So how can we, because we know that many people still can thrive even during the chaos, and we know so many stories about that. So how can we maybe embody these frequencies of thriving and prosperity during this time?
Yeah, this is going to be a big challenge. I wrote a book when all the craziness started to happen 3 years ago, that it's over here. It's called The Chaos, a Wake Up Call for Light Workers. And I believe the chaos, whatever it is, whatever the chaos is in the world, is a call for us to ascend. It's a call for us to step into who we really are, because it's the contrast that's showing up, and contrast only appears for us to expand our consciousness, and either people will expand their consciousness or they won't. So I think it's a big test. Particularly money is a test for spiritual people in general. I actually say that money is the greatest test of our spiritual connection, because a lot of people want to, what I'll say is spiritual bypass the process around money. Oh, I don't need it. I don't need that much. That's not for me. I'm spiritual. I don't need money. And they're completely missing the idea that money is spiritual. Money is energy. And so if you can't say God's source, infinite intelligence is in everything, but it's not in money. You just can't do it. That is like the most backward spiritual thing that you can say. So it's in everything. Source is everywhere. So we have to take the idea of the money and actually build the relationship with it. And so even though all this chaos may or may not be coming, but we're seeing contrast, and they're planting more fear in us over, well, any chance they get to put fear in us, they do. And so now this is a chance for us to stand up and come reconnected to who we are. When we are truly connected with source, God, infinite intelligence, whatever word works best for you, but when we're truly connected, that connection gets us through everything, because then we have a moment of realizing that we're panicked in this 3D world when we don't even know what this world is. We're not even really sure what this is and what we're doing. For all I know, I'm sitting here by myself having this conversation, but my physical and my soul body is somewhere else. Like, I don't really know what's going on. We don't really know. And so when we get really worked up about things in the 3D world, we have to remember that we don't even know what this is. Like, how funny that we're getting upset over, say, money. You open up your bank account, it's overdrawn, and you get all freaked out. It's like, it's just a number on a screen. Relax. We get to create what we want. So in the time that's coming, if it does get crazier, whatever it is for anybody, because we will always have contrast, that is the moment, that contrast, that chaos is the moment for us to come back to center. Remember that we're infinite, powerful, creative beings, and that even though there's chaos going around, ask source for guidance on, how do I see this as an opportunity? What can I do to, we can say be prepared. Sometimes someone uses the be prepared to sit in fear. We don't want to approach the word prepared from a fear standpoint. We want to approach the word prepared from the standpoint of opportunity. What opportunity could there be for me? What could I do? And I have to tell you that now is the best time to be stepping out as a spiritual coach. A, because you're going to be in control of your own income, but B, everyone is awakening, and the people who are experiencing fear but don't want to, they're looking for guidance. When I started my business almost a decade ago now, nobody was talking about spiritual business. I was the only one. People would literally tell me I was going to hell and that I was evil for talking about spirituality and money. They used to say it was an oxymoron. I mean, I was like harassed. Like, that first one through was the bloodiest. And man, did I get bloodied up. And now I can't log on to Facebook without seeing someone posting something about start your spiritual business, spiritual coaches wanted. And I crack up at it. I'm like, okay, clearly the message has gotten out. So I've ridden the wave, and the wave is going to start to peak. And this is where you guys can come in as spiritual coaches. The awakening is here. People are awakening. They're looking for help. The more chaos there is in the 3D world, the faster the awakening will happen. And they're looking for guidance. They're looking for someone who's been through what they're going through, their dark night of the soul. They're looking for someone to help them through that because they feel very alone. So this chaos that's coming is, if it does come, is the time for you to fully step into who you are, find the opportunity, which would be to assist the people who are awakening, and be in charge of your own income, because you get to create whatever reality you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that approach, because each situation, it depends on how we see it. It depends on our perspective. We can see like the fear-based perspective and also the opportunity. And also, like you mentioned, the how the media creates fear. And if we, if we pay close attention to their narrative, we can see that they are repeating themselves. It's the same narrative happening again and again. And like I said, it's more of us to become more free, more empowered, and finding the opportunity in that situation. And so we will start taking questions in a little bit. Sure. Olga shared, this is really interesting, really landing for me. Thank you, Kimberly.
You're welcome.
Yes, I love that approach too. And before that, I would love if you can tell us about the free gift you are offering us. And sure. For that, everyone, I invite you to click on the free gift link, which is on the live events page. Later, it will be available on the replay page. It's it's now on the YouTube video description. And also I will put it on Zoom chat box. And it's secure. It's the Spiritual Entrepreneur's Guide to Spirit-Led Business and Transform Your Spiritual Gifts into a Thriving Business That Serves. So yeah, I would love if you can tell us about that gift.
Sure. I think it's the beginning steps of knowing that you can do this. And what does it mean to have a spirit-led biz? Really, at the end of the day, if you think about it, that's all we should be doing. And whatever the business looks like, maybe you're not exactly a spiritual coach per se, but we should all be creating income and abundance and money from our gifts, whatever those gifts are. Someone one time posted on one of my ads, they were like, but I love my job. I'm like, great, then you're fulfilling your purpose. That's what we're really talking about. So how do you then, step into that role of a spiritual coach or taking a spirit-led business to the next level? And that's what that free gift is about.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And so everyone, I highly recommend that you sign up and receive that gift. And I already put the link on the Zoom chat box and also on YouTube chat box. And you also can find the link on the websites on the live events page and also later on the replay page. And let's see. It's first one from Jay. Hi, Kimberly. Do you help for spiritual related? Do you help only spiritually related businesses?
No, I actually a little array. I have I call it a spiritual biz alignment. I have many times have 7-figure spiritual entrepreneurs that come to me, or entrepreneurs that come to me that aren't spiritual, that want to bring that higher vibration to their businesses. So whether it's someone who has like an agency or a doctor, dermatologist, various things. So I have helped other people as well, because what happens is if they're coming to me, they're awakening and they're trying to figure out how to make their business a higher vibe business. And so I apply my same skills to that. So I do that as well.
Yeah. And also one point is that our gifts, spiritual gifts, doesn't necessarily be expressed through spiritual business. They can be used in other sectors as well. So
yeah.
So just a reminder, everyone, if you want to talk and ask Kimberly, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions on Zoom app and then raise hand, or you can click on *9 on your phone. And we have a question from Tanya. Yeah, she rose her hand. Can you please unmute yourself?
There she is.
Hello, Kimberly. Hello.
Hi.
So my question is, I know I'm ready, but I still procrastinate. I know that I have to do like little step by little step in order to start it. I have a little bit difficult life situation at the moment, moving house, but I know that my life kind of is crumbling at the moment. So I will have to start my business because I absolutely will have to provide for me and my son. And this procrastination is like, I feel it is like lack of motivation. And I was listening to the podcast of Grace G. Home, who is an energy alchemist. And she said that it is very often hormonal, like you lack, I don't know, testosterone, whatever it is, then you lack. And then you won't feel motivated. So on one hand, it could be physical issue. On another hand, it could be emotional or mental issue. How do I move from this kind of, not dead point, I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's like I stopped and I want to move forward. What would you suggest, please?
I would suggest changing your story and making the decision and committing yourself to move.
Yes.
That's all it is. You just gave me a whole story about what it could be. And I didn't feel that any of that was true.
Yes, but when I was younger, I had so much excitement. I could organize people. I could do whatever I wanted to do. Like I wanted to do something and I did it. And I'm in my 50s now and it feels like I'm a bit sluggish.
I'm in my 50s too. I get it. I'm in my 50s, but I find I'm inspired. Like I have more, it's funny, I was just talking to my husband about this, and I have more energy and am more inspired and excited about what I do now than I did 10 years ago, for sure.
Okay.
So it's a choice, right? It's a choice. And sometimes, yes, is there physical stuff that happens for people? Yes. But that means that we're not taking care of our temple like we should as much. And so it's just making the decision to, if we feel it's a physical thing, then figure it out. What is the physical thing? Whether it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm by no means here to give medical advice on stuff, but I know there's all sorts of stuff that I follow and do. I fast 20 hours a day. I watch my sugar content. I have different holistic healers that I see. I know my hormones are on like right spot on. Like I don't have any quote unquote, like, midlife woman menopausal stuff. Like that's just not happening for me, like at the tiniest bit. And it's because I know I take such good care of myself. Because I take such good care of myself that I know I can do that. Like I'll just share this. I don't actually believe that we need to age the way that we currently age. We don't have to. Our body is not set up that way.
I agree
right?
with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So I follow that, and I really take care of my temple, and I take care of who I am, which then gives me the energy I need to be motivated to create what I want to create.
Thank you. I just
You're
have
welcome.
to make a decision. Not
Yes.
have to. I want to.
Yes, there you go.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Kimberly. Also, I want to share maybe my experience in the beginning, because I started with a podcast. Like I was also interviewing. I had like very, very few people who were listening. But if I didn't go through that stage, it was like a learning process for me, and I learned so much. So if I didn't go through that, like building this show, it will be like much more difficult for me. So sometimes it's not about making it right the first time. It's more about getting used to it, having more confidence in ourselves, and learning more about the process. Also, that can make us procrastinate sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, your higher self picked you doing this to expand your consciousness. So it's putting it right there for you to take the leap, and you have to take the leap. Otherwise, you're not listening to your guidance from source.
And Julie, she's sharing her experience. Hi, Kimberly. I left IBM 23 years ago with nothing more than a feeling of I am here to put the heart into business. My heart just knew it was right. I put my own holistic business development together, and it went very well until I got made redundant 8 years ago. At the height of my success, my life crumbled, and I went to nothing, from a 6-figure salary to signing for a social benefits. The toughest time of my life, but the gifts were many. I built resilience, paradoxically self-worth, more determination. I would never have imagined that it would link me to my dream work of helping people who were going through their toughest time. Had I not gone through my own stuff, I couldn't have helped them. That was an amazing 3-year contract working with a charity that has now ended. And so I am now doing exactly what you have said, playing with creativity and seeding. I don't have much money, but I notice I am trusting more that I am going to create it. I say that because I love what I do.
Beautiful. Yeah, you've got to trust the journey, guys, even when it doesn't look pretty. And even when we receive an outcome that we weren't expecting, but that outcome was only there to expand our consciousness. And then, Julie, I would just say, be really careful that I don't have much money. Be very careful. Those are your words. Your words are incredibly, incredibly powerful. And I'm not saying you're lazy, but I know I get lazy with my words sometimes, and I hear them fly out of my mouth. And I'm like, why would I have said that? So just be really aware and careful of your words. And so you could say this right now: I'm finding an opportunity to create more abundance. And so if you come from the opportunity to create more, that's what the universe will deliver to you. But I would say stick with it. I mean, that's what you're here to do. If you know it in your heart. And, I had a similar experience. I'll share really quickly that, I worked on Wall Street. I kind of opened with that, but helped create this $165 million company like created, like 9 of us sat in a room and created this company. It wasn't like I got a job, like we actually created this, and I made the decision to leave. And everybody thought I was out of my mind. They're like, you're insane. What are you doing? And my heart and soul was screaming at me to go. And I did. And it's been a crazy ride. It took me 6 years to really find my purpose. So people think like, I quit and I found my purpose. And there you are. I'm like, it's a journey, everybody. It is a journey. It took me 6 years to finally figure it out. I did some travel, and then I created a couple other businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I created some other businesses that just never felt right, even though they made money. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Now I know what I do. I absolutely love, but it is a journey. So just listen to your heart, guys. It takes you where you need to go, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Kimberly, and also thank you, Julie, for sharing your experience. And yeah, many times it's like we can find our gifts in the challenges that we go through. Like they show us our gifts. And let's see, Julie Shiraz, thank you, Kimberly. Great point. And as we say, also, as you mentioned, money, and also earlier you talked about how it is seen from the spiritual community. And also many times, like like other people, they feel very difficult to maybe sell their service, or just using this word, maybe selling the products or services. It feels there is so much resistance there, and asking for money in exchange of their service. And many times it feels like it's something wrong, and they try to create their business, but trying to limit that part as much as they can. So like, what is your perspective? Maybe you talked about that earlier, but maybe if you can tell us more about how can we shift our perspective about money.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. So so let me start by this. Let me say this, and this is going to probably trigger some people, and that's okay. That's kind of what I'm on this planet to do. But I believe that you're actually being selfish if you aren't creating 6 figures with your spiritual business. And people be like, what do you mean? Because the money isn't about you. So even when you're doing the energy exchange with your clients, the money is not about you. Just so that we're clear with everybody, if you understand money and study it, and I've been studying it for seems like forever. And so when you study money, money is not something we're supposed to hold on to. Money needs to be used. It's energy. It needs to be flowing, hence currency, right? Currency, it's a current, it flows in and out. So money has to be flowing. And so if you don't want to charge, you're blocking your flow of the money, which is why you will continue to struggle. But at the end of the day, the money isn't about you. You take the money, so you do the energy exchange with your client. First of all, you're charging for them. So I show my clients how to, even in my beginner program, I show my clients how to create a mini program that's about $750, $1,500 can be the price point. Price point is always up to the person because it has to feel in vibrational alignment with what you're creating and where your beliefs are. But that $750 price tag, someone might be like, ooh, that's too much. Some people can't afford my services. But the price tag is for them, because you want them to show up. You want them to engage. You want them to change their life and have a real transformation. You're not helping people by doing stuff for free and giving them a little here and a little there. You're only truly helping someone when you shift their consciousness. You have to create a transformation to really help people. So if you really want to help people, you actually have to do an energy exchange of money so that they show up. Otherwise, they don't show up. If you guys are only charging maybe $50, or you can do a session for 15 minutes. I've seen that over and over, $15 for 15 minutes. And I'm like, the people don't really have any transformation. So you're not serving if you're not doing an energy exchange. So the energy exchange is for them. Then the money flows into you. And what do you do with the money? I call it being a spiritual capitalist. So you create as much money as you can. So then you can take a whole chunk of it and give it back out. Plus, allowing the money to come in allows you to be the best version of you. You can't be the best version of you when you're struggling. When you're struggling and worried about money and wondering how you're going to pay the bills, your vibration is down and you're focused solely on that thing. You're like, you wake up in the morning thinking, how am I going to make the rent? How am I going to make the car payment? Well, that's not where your energy needs to be. You need to be in what I call the prosperity vortex, where you're in this divine flow. Money's flowing in, so then you can be the best version of you. What would the best version of you look like if you were making, I like to tell my clients, even though a lot of my stuff says 6 figures, $250,000 a month is when you're really, not a month, that too, but that's my business. $250,000 a year is when you're really living. If you're making less than that, you're not really living. You're struggling. And so $250,000 a year allows you to donate $25,000, $50,000 a year, because you don't need all of it, but you can put the money back out. You can invest, you can travel, you can take courses, you can be the best version of you when you're creating money. So the money isn't about like, oh, I'm going to get money, oh, I'm going to take it from them. And that's the other thing. People say, well, people won't be able to afford my services if I increase my pricing. And my response to that is, why are you holding them in such a low light that they can't? Because they're infinite, powerful beings. They can do whatever they decide. They may have beliefs and they may make choices to not do things, but they can when they tap into the light of who they are. So the money thing is just a really interesting thing. And it's a huge topic I talk about all the time. I'm working on one book right now called Spiritual Biz Alchemy, but the one behind that will be the Prosperity Vortex, because we cannot create thriving spiritual businesses if we do not have a good relationship with money. So that money relationship needs to happen so that the business can thrive. But the energy exchange of the charging is really for them. But then it allows you also to be the best version of yourself and then become a spiritual capitalist. You take a whole bunch of it, you start your spiritual center, you can donate where you want it to go. Think of the good you can do on this planet with the more money you make.
Yeah, absolutely. And also how we see it is that if maybe we choose many times unconsciously to struggle with money, this is more about distraction from sharing our gifts. And you said that's maybe in different words. And also, like you said, when we have like higher income through business or services, like we can grow even more our services and we can share our gifts in a bigger way. So, and like you said, it's not about holding that money, it's a tool to create with it. And many times, like when we start our business or at any point on our path, like we don't know exactly the opportunities that will show up in the future. And many times, like things show up that we never expected, and they help us to serve in new ways. And I really love what you shared, Kimberly. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And then I just saw a thing Olga had asked you, thank you for sales. Let me just hit a little sales point too. So not only the money exchange of your gifts for, them getting a transformation, but the actual selling process is the other thing. Everybody's like, oh, I don't feel like sales, it's icky. The reason why people don't like sales, or the reason why we have bad sales experiences, is because people are not trained. And because they don't have proper training, the only thing they know how to do is push. And so they push, and eventually the other person gives in and a sale happens. But that's not how it's supposed to happen. So I actually teach all my clients, not so much in my beginning program, but in my other programs as they're scaling their businesses, that how to sell. And I call it being a spiritual closer. Because without selling your gifts per se, without selling your program, you're not transforming someone's life. So you're not serving if you're not selling. It's just not. So when everyone's like, oh, I want to help the people, I want to help everyone around the world, I'm like, great. Do you have a spiritual business and have you gotten sales training? Because that's how you truly serve. That is the process. And we've never been taught that, because we were not taught to be entrepreneurs. We were taught to be little minions that go to work for other people. But you want to understand how to be an entrepreneur, because that's how you're going to create the abundance that is your birthright. And it's not an easy road, but it's an awesome road.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, in some way, your answer, this answered my next question. Is what it was about, especially in the beginning when we are starting sharing our service and we don't receive clients, but at the same time we want to practice. We don't want to wait. But like you said, when we learn how to, through learning sales, it's more about trying to let people know about our services, it's more about sharing that. That can help us through that process, but can be also be helpful if, I don't know, for a limited time to offer that for free too, as a practice.
To me, the free part comes when you're building your certainty. When you're so uncertain in yourself, that's when you need to do things for free to build your certainty. And as you start to build your certainty, then it's time to start charging. So it's really about you. It's about you getting really comfortable. I had a client, she was in my beginning program, which I said, you know, I showed them how to create a program that between 750 and 1,200, depends on where they want. Her first enrollment was for $2,500 because she was certain. She's like, I've never done this before, but I'm certain. She was so certain. She's like, she told the woman on the phone, 2,500. The lady said yes, and she had a sale. So her certainty allowed her to do that. When someone's not certain, sometimes they're like, I can only charge $500 and for the program. And I'm like, that's fine, because they're building their certainty. So I think the free stuff can happen when you're uncertain.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kimberly. And
sure.
We have a question from Vivian. Hi, Kimberly. What's your advice about banks? Is the structure as we know is now going to change? If so, into what? Please let us know your viewpoints.
Sure.
Who is to trust? And can we change the word of money to an enlightened version full of flow of joy, mutual beneficial? Thank you.
So, well, you can change the energy of money right now. You're such infinite, powerful, strong beings that you should be consciously imbuing your energy into money, because money is energy. So you have the power at this very second to shift your impact with money and what the vibration of the money is. So everyone should be doing that immediately. So we don't have to wait for something to happen. To just do it now. You get to choose to do that. As far as the banks, I have the book will come soon, but I have a whole program called the Prosperity Vortex, and I do this whole thing about the system and everything. And so, you know, the system has been set up in a way that if you do not know the rules, because it's a game, that you can fail. No one taught us the rules. So the most important thing anybody can do is increase your financial IQ. If no one here has ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, go get it immediately. I think you can even find it on YouTube for free. So that is the most important thing, because the reason why there's this great divide between the people who have the wealth and the people that don't is the only, I would actually say the only maybe biggest reason is that they're speaking a different language and no one taught us the language. And since no one taught us the language, we don't know what the hell's going on. So your responsibility, and you can't blame anyone for this. This is you got to take 100% responsibility and be like, I need to go increase my financial IQ immediately. So I would read Rich Dad, Poor Dad just to understand. Now, is it going to change how it is today? Who really knows? But I would say it has to. I would actually say if you really start to study what's happening in the monetary system and how it's been set up, and I don't really know how the heck they can get out of what they've created. I really don't. It's almost like it has to get broken down and then rebirthed into something else. But whatever it gets rebirthed into. So do I like the idea that they're going to try to make cash go away and blah, blah? No, I don't. Doesn't resonate with me. But if it does occur, we can't fight it. So position yourself to be in alignment with it, and vibrationally you get to create what you want. So you just have to be thinking about, again, how we talked about it earlier, what's the opportunity in this? It's not prepared from scarcity, it's prepared for opportunity. Pay attention, increase your financial IQ, know what's going on. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I always tell my clients, go listen to him, because he does a really good job at connecting with people who don't understand it yet. Like some of the guys I listen to, it is a different language. You'd be like, well, I don't even understand what they're saying, but you'll get there. It's just like when you're trying to learn Spanish or French or Italian or whatever. At first you're like, I have no idea what they're saying. And all of a sudden one day you're in a restaurant, you can order beautifully and you understand what they're saying back to you. It's the same thing. So it's a different language. So it's our responsibility to understand the game and the rules of the game. No one taught us the rules of the game. And so we need to know what the rules are. And the rules are going to change. So you need to be paying attention to what is happening. And just be paying enough attention, you'll be able to make your own decisions about where do you put your money? How do you create money? What do you do with it? Like, you'll be able to make your own decisions. if you get enough financial IQ. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I love that work as well. Vivian, great answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and also for me, how I see it, it's not about trying to change the system, but it's more becoming free from it in the way, like learning, like understanding the game, and also learning to use the system for my benefit instead of following it. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, taxes is the perfect example. Like who here has ever read a tax book? Who here has ever, taken the time to look at the tax code? Like I have done that, not to any like major degree, but I do it enough so that I know as an entrepreneur how to be smart enough with my money. If you guys understand the tax code, if you guys are in the United States and you understand the tax code, you understand that when people get upset with the rich and they're like, oh, they're not paying taxes, and yeah, because they read the tax code and they're following the rules of the game. You could too. Every single person here could find a way to not pay taxes. Creating a business is one of them, but you have to educate yourself. And again, it's not like Monsef was saying, it's not about going against what they're doing. It's like learn how to play the game, learn the rules, and then everyone can create the wealth that they're desiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Kimberly.
Sure.
Very grateful to you. It was very, very inspiring, very powerful call. So yeah, very happy that you could join us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. All right, guys.
Yeah. And also, again, everyone, I highly recommend that you get the free gifts that Kimberly is offering us. And the link is I just put it again on the chat box on Zoom. It's also on YouTube chat box, and you will find the free gifts button on the live events page, later on the replay page, and also on YouTube during the replay. It will be available on the description. And yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, co-creating with us this space and time. Very grateful to those who shared their experiences and questions. And yeah, so with that, I'm sending you so much love, and then we see you on the next call. Bye-bye, everyone.